Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Wellness Wednesday. I am your host, Brenda McAllister. Today, we're going to discuss 8 tips for better time management. Number 1, track your daily schedule. When are you wasting time? When did you tend to be the most productive? I think the easiest way to do this is on a sheet of paper, write down in 15-minute increments your day, starting when you wake up, and then every 15 minutes until your head hits the pillow. And we'll discover that there's a lot of time in there that we're wasting. We're not very productive, and we actually could get a lot more done in the day if we chose to kind of track what we're doing and maybe eliminate the things that are kind of sabotaging our productivity. And of course, a lot of those, same as me, is social media. We check Instagram, Facebook, we Snapchat, all that. That's really just a big waste of time. And when I talk to my clients and they ask me, how we get everything done in a day, and then they tell me that they don't have time to, eat well and exercise and things like that. But the minute that we finish the daily schedule, they're aware that there's a lot more time in there than they realize. Number 2, set an alarm. And set an alarm in the morning, and do try to wake up at the same time every day. And if you're not sure how long something is going to take and you can't be late, start early and then relax until the time comes. Some examples of this are mostly girls, if you're attending a wedding. We always like to take a little bit more time with our hair and makeup, and sometimes we'll change our outfit once or twice, or we don't know what shoes we want to wear, or we can't find them. So I just always recommend that you get ready ahead of time, and then if you have more time, you can always do something that isn't really going to ruin your look. You can maybe, read a little bit in a book, then you can check social media, things like that. Another time that you would not want to be late is a job interview or first day on a new job. Or if you're traveling somewhere new, always make sure that you've maybe already entered it in the GPS, or you at least have the address written down, and try to get there about 15-20 minutes early. And it doesn't mean that you have to go in, but sit in your car. And any appointment, doctor's appointment, dental appointment, whatever that may be, because it's really not very fair to whoever we're going to see if we show up late. That's not really valuing their time very well. And I do think it's a good idea to set a timer when you are performing certain tasks. Let's say that somebody wants to clean their basement. Well, that's a big job. So I will ask them, I'll say, set a timer and clean your basement for 10 minutes. And I think you and I both know that once you start, you just keep going because you already feel like you're making progress and you're already there. You're probably in your grubby clothes. You probably have gloves on, whatever that may be. So when the 10-minute timer goes off, you keep going. But there's something to be said and something very reassuring that if you have a timer set, you know that the maximum amount that you have to spend down there is 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you set that timer for. There's something very comforting. And then if you decide to work above and beyond that, that's up to you. And I think that just leaves you a little bit more empowered. And also set a timer when you're checking social media. I do this first thing in the morning. I get up, I make coffee, I feed our animals, different things like that. And while the coffee's brewing, I check social media. And it's usually about 5-10 minutes a day. I'm not saying I don't do it again, but I know that I only have as much time as it takes for the coffee to brew. Once it does, I'm done. And also when you're studying, I think that this was maybe something that I didn't do in college, and I'm not sure if I was back in school today if I would do it or not. But when we're studying, I think we think, okay, I'm gonna study all night. Well, we all know that that's exhausting, and it's probably not going to happen. So I think if you set a timer for 30 minutes and then you take 5 minutes off, or you set a timer for an hour, it maybe depends on what you're studying. Some things need your attention and you don't want to get distracted. But again, when you're studying, I think it's easier to, really go to work and kind of dive into what you're studying and all that knowledge that you're gaining, knowing that you get a break. So I think that when we know that there's a 5-10 minute break in the near future, I think it's a lot easier to really just, sit down and go to work. Number 3, I'm a big believer in this one. Use a planner and plan your day every day. And remember to schedule in fun time. And fun time for you is probably something, completely different than what I would visualize as fun. I like to play ball with my dogs, or I like to, maybe organize a drawer or read a book or something like that. That's fun to me. Or maybe I'll have, a quick, phone call with one of my friends or whatever that might be. But if you schedule that in, then it's going to happen. If you think that you're just going to find time, a lot of times it goes, quite a few days, and then we don't have anything, that we call fun. I think a planner keeps us on track. It keeps you on target. And it's funny when I look in somebody's planner, a lot of girls, mostly girls, they like to use different colored pens. They like to color code things. I have one gal that her workouts with me are purple and pink. So all of her fun stuff is purple and pink. Her work stuff is blue and things like that. So I think not only is that more fun for her to look through the planner because it's exactly how she wants it to be, I think that as she's writing that down, I think she's making mental notes of all the things that she has to do. And when I write in my planner, I am a huge pencil girl. I always use a pencil not because I make mistakes, I do, but that's not why. I like the looks of the pencil. I don't want a bunch of different colors in there. And if I want to erase something, it still looks nice and clean. And I think that I try to explain this to my clients, and I think sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. But I'm a big believer in planning ahead. Plan tomorrow, today. And if that makes sense, it means, so today I'm recording this audio, but I knew yesterday I was going to do it today. And the reason that I wanted to plan for this yesterday is, what if I wanted to make other plans tonight? Or what if I just didn't feel like doing this? It doesn't matter. I had to do it because it was in my planner. I was going to do it at the time that I said I was going to, and I can't do anything else until it's done. So again, there's something calming about that you already know what you're doing tomorrow, today. And somebody says, well, that's not really living in the moment, but it is. I'm living in today's moment. I just planned for it yesterday. And tomorrow, when I live in tomorrow's moment, I've already planned for that today. And so I am a big believer in planning ahead. And I think it helps us get mentally and physically prepared. So let's say I have clients coming out soon. I would really like them to show up with their bag, clean tennis shoes, socks, and all the essentials. Some do, some don't. The ones that do are usually exactly right on time, a few minutes early. They, don't come through here, like a crazy tornado. They're just calm. They know exactly how long it takes to get from their place to my business. And the ones that come in here, and sometimes they have their shoes, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have 2 different socks, if they have socks. They need a water. If they don't have a water, they need a ponytail because they forgot theirs, things like that. That exhausts me. It exhausts me sometimes to spend time with people like that. I care about them all, and I try to work with them. And the funny thing is that when they're managing, their time, even as far as, when they're working with me, I think that's a lot of times a big reflector on how they manage their time with other things. So kind of stop and think about that. Number 4, keep your meals simple. I think I've talked about this a few different times. And this is probably one of my biggest things. I think this is probably my niche, is just eating simple. Keep it simple, keep it clean, and don't overthink it. And I think eating the same meal, it can be boring for some if you think of it that way. But rather than thinking of it as being boring, think of it as being simple and easy. And you don't have to give a lot of thought to it. We have so many thoughts running through our mind every day. All you guys are, studying. You're planning for the future. You're planning for next semester, whatever that may be. I would really rather that, food choices and what you're going to eat, where you're going to eat, what time, things like that. I would really like it if that wasn't one of the things that was taking up a lot of that mental space. So when you keep your meals simple and you eat the same thing all the time, I think that really helps with grocery shopping, and not necessarily meal prep, but meal planning. You get up in the morning and you maybe have 3 different choices. You have cereal, oatmeal, or you have eggs. At lunch, you may have a salad, and it might have chicken on it. Maybe you'd have tuna. You might have some leftover, spaghetti sauce or something, whatever that may be. Whatever you throw together is your meal. And it doesn't have to be a meal. I always think that a meal is just simply whatever you're eating at mealtime or whenever you're hungry. It might be an apple, a string cheese, and a handful of walnuts. That's it. That's a pretty decent meal. It's nutritionally sound. It's easy. I guess the string cheese would have to be cold, but just go ahead, freeze a water bottle and use that as your ice pack, and when it thaws, there's your water. Prepare foods as soon as you arrive home from the grocery store. My biggest, I guess, time saver. When you come home from the store, it's so easy. And I know that we've all done this. I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of it. But we want to come home and just stick everything in the fridge because we've worked all day, went to the grocery store, we want to come home and just, kind of relax, hang out with our family, maybe do something different. So we just throw everything in the fridge and we go to get it out the next day and we think, oh, what am I going to eat? And there's all kinds of really nutritious food. You just don't feel like preparing it. So I would suggest that when you come home from the grocery store, put everything on the counter. Put your bags away, get out the cutting board, different knives, get out all the containers that you have, slice everything up, cut it up, chop it up, whatever you do, put it in the container and then put it in the fridge. So managing, your time with meal prep and even with just grocery shopping, that is going to save you so much time down the road. So let's say that you did that tonight and then tomorrow you're going, maybe you are kind of running late for whatever reason, and you think, oh, I need something for lunch because I'm not going to be home. I have a night class, whatever that might be. You look in the fridge, and your choices are easy. You open up a few, containers, throw a few things in a baggie, throw it in your lunch bag, and you're out the door. It doesn't take a lot of thought. And I think, to use the same containers for the same foods. I think when you look in the fridge, you know that when you go to the grocery store, you made a mental picture that your lettuce is gone because the container that you keep the lettuce in was empty. Or you have a clear container for your eggs rather than using a carton, because I think we've all done this. We pulled a carton of eggs out. Either we're making, we're baking or whatever that may be, and there's one egg. Or there's two, but you're always short one egg. So I think when you go to the grocery store, I think you will probably have to make fewer trips if you know exactly what you need. Even if you don't make a list, you have that mental list because you did a real quick view of the fridge before you left. And I think it's important to pack your lunch the night before. Because again, like I was just saying, if you're late and you're running out the door, just throw a few things in your lunch bag. For a couple reasons, I think eating out is ridiculously expensive. And for most of us, I think we're maybe not trying to watch our weight, but, we want to eat healthy and kind of manage our money at the same time. And I think packing your lunch is one of the, kind of a surefire way to do that. All right, number 5, always have a packed bag. And by packed bag, I mean something that you always have with you. And what I would suggest is, even if you want to just use like a gallon baggie, that's fine. I think a lot of us have a little container that maybe something came in. Maybe it was, like a cosmetic, case or something like that, whatever it may be. Have that in your bag and always have, certain essentials. And what I suggest are the following: a little cash, $10, $20. It's just something to maybe get you into a game and maybe buy you a water and a protein bar. And next, a protein bar and water. But in case you didn't have that, you want to have your cash. Number 3 is gum or Listerine, for obvious reasons, right? We don't want to have offensive, breath. But when we finish eating, for the next, I believe it's 30 minutes or so, the bacteria from the food and things like that is hard on our teeth. So if we can chew gum, it keeps that saliva going and it's not quite as hard on your teeth. But the Listerine is usually my biggest suggestion. Rinse your mouth out. It kills the germs. So of course you're going to have fresh breath, but it's also going to kill any bacteria that's kind of lingering from what you just ate. Probably going to the bathroom, right? And, swish, I think it's 20 seconds or so, and then spit it out and it feels good. Plus, another tip is that signals to you and your brain that you are finished eating, right? Because isn't that how we always end a meal? We brush our teeth or pop in a piece of gum. Always have chapstick, especially this time of year. Kleenex, of course, and pens and a highlighter. And not just for you college students, but really anybody. You just never know. Obviously, you're always going to need a pen and a highlighter, just for whatever reason. And your pen, I don't think, has to be a really nice pen, but I think it should be something that you like. Okay, maybe something that you would actually keep in your wallet, or something that writes nice, and something that you're proud to have. And I think it's a little bit easier to keep track of that also. And deodorant, dental picks, Band-Aids. And it seems like we use Band-Aids for, just for a lot of different things. Sometimes we have, a hangnail, or, we maybe have a scratch on our hand or something like that. And we need to keep it, covered, just because I think it's offensive when we have a wound that is fresh and not covered. But also, it's a really good way to allow germs in your body, is through an open wound. Lotion and hand sanitizer. Lotion, just because there's nothing worse than, scratching and, itching just because you're dry, or your hands, maybe even in the winter, they kind of crack and bleed and things like that. Probably from using all the hand sanitizer that we have been recently. And ladies, all your feminine essentials, right? Either for you or maybe somebody else who's in need. All right, number 6. It's important to do the same thing at the same time each day. And that is how we form habits. And having the same habits is a great way to manage your time, because you don't always have to set an alarm. You know that when you get up, you know exactly what you're going to do. You've been doing it the same every single day for how many years. So you know exactly how long it's going to take you. You don't have to put a lot of thought into it. Laundry, changing your bedding. Change it every Saturday, whatever day that may be. Pay your bills. Drink water. And by that, I mean, when you get up in the morning, have a bottle of water or a glass of water, let's say 8 ounces. Right before you have breakfast, 8 ounces. Before you brush your teeth, on walking to school or driving to school, whatever that may be. Before every meal, have 8 ounces. And this is a big one. If we all did this, I don't think there would be very many people on earth that are dehydrated. But if we would drink 8 ounces of water every single time we checked our Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, again, we would never, ever be lacking, would we? Because we do that all the time. But when you do it at the same time as something else, then it just becomes a habit. You don't have to think about it. Grocery shop. And I don't think that you have to grocery shop like every Saturday morning, but I think it's important to shop when it works best for you. And we kind of know with our schedule when that is. It might be the same day, the same time, same store, whatever that might be. And maybe it's just because it's convenient, it's on the way home, or maybe, the sale ad comes out on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and you get home from school or work, and you check the ad, you run to the store, vice versa, okay? And I think you want to keep a running list, because again, you don't want to be going back and forth to the store. Clean your dishes as soon as you finish eating. And it's funny because you think that that's kind of a no-brainer, but I've been to so many people's homes and they have dirty dishes in the sink, and it honestly just kind of boggles me. I don't quite understand that. Even if you think, okay, I'm going to soak them with a little bit of soap and water, I'm going to put the meal away, and then by the time you come back, they've set long enough that they're pretty easy to clean. Wipe them down, put them away. And again, that signals to your body that you're finished eating. All right, next, empty and restock your bags as soon as you arrive home. So let's say that you're at school and your pen ran out, or you had to loan it to a friend, or you used your last Band-Aid, or you didn't realize that you weren't going to come home between your 12 o'clock and your 3 o'clock class, so you were hungry, so you grabbed the protein bar that was in your bag and the bottle of water. Well, if that happens again, you want to make sure that you have the same thing available. So as soon as you walk in, before you do anything else, put everything back in your bag so you know exactly what's in there and it's going to be ready for next time you need it. And I also think it's very important to keep your dorm or your apartment organized. I think organization saves time. How many times have you been with somebody and they can't find their keys, they can't find their college ID, or they don't know where their tennis shoes are, so they had to wear, the grungy old ones from, 3 years ago. Or you're playing intramural volleyball and you don't have your knee pads, or somebody can't find the basketball shoes. I think that, and then they're looking around, they're trying to find somebody that has some. But if you come in, you put them in the same place every single time. Number one, you don't have to think about it because your body just naturally does that. But you also know that when you need them, you know exactly where they are. I know sometimes we'll get kind of lazy or busy and we go to, let's say, the gas station, and we use our debit card. We swipe it, we're standing outside, it's cold, we stick it in our pocket, get in our car, get home. The next day, we go to grab, a Diet Coke from the cafeteria, and we don't know where our debit card is. Well, we have to think back, how many steps to remember, oh yeah, it's in the outside of my coat, but my coat's not here, I have on something different. Oh, even just telling you that is kind of exhausting. So when you get out, you fill up your gas tank, you take your wallet out, you put it back in the wallet, you put it back in the car, and then you proceed to fill up your car. And I know that seems like there's a lot of steps, but doesn't that sound a lot easier than backtrack and try to go all over, tarnation, trying to remember where you put things? Oh. All right. And I think it's important that we hang out with friends who are like-minded. People who, are always disorganized, they're late, they're always running out of gas, or they're always cramming for tests. I don't think that's very good time management at all. And the unfortunate part is that that's probably how they're going to continue. Not always, but a lot of times. I think that when we hang out with people like that, I don't think we always become like them, but I think it becomes a lot easier to kind of develop some of those, not bad habits, but kind of unfortunate habits. Last one, set reminders on your phone. And the easiest thing is just to click the side button, say, hey Siri, remind me at 8 o'clock to pay my tuition or pay my rent, or remind me tomorrow morning when I'm texting Jody to, pack my gym bag, whatever that might be. It's amazing. And I don't think that allows us to be lazy. I guess it could in a roundabout way, but I think it just makes it really easy, and it makes us a lot more efficient, and we don't forget nearly as many things. All right, number 7, limit interruptions. This one is huge. Put your phone on, do not disturb, or set it in another room while you are studying. And I know that's hard. I know that it's hard, and I like to listen to a podcast or Audible or, whatever, even just some background music. So I know sometimes we like to keep our phone with us for reasons like that. But I think if you're not, every time, that ding goes off, or that little noise that alerts you that you have a text message or a Snapchat or, something like that, I think that's so distracting, and it's human nature to want to check it right away. And it usually isn't anything that demands our urgent attention, but for some reason we feel like it does. And the hard thing is that every time that you are distracted like that, it takes at least 10 minutes to get back on track. So think of that. Think if you're studying for a big exam that you really do have to do well on, because college is important, and you're always checking your social media. And then every time you have to try to get back on track. It's going to take so much longer to get that studying done, I promise you. Use earplugs to eliminate outside noise. And the earplugs that I recommend are from Amazon. They're about $10. Nothing fancy. They're silicone. And the neat thing is that they have a little, a rubber piece on the end that you put in the ear, and then you just kind of feel where your two fingers would meet to grab that. And if you feel like it's a little bit long, you cut it. And it's meant for that as well. So that way, if you want to sleep in them, it's not jabbing your pillow. And I've used those so many times, especially right now, we're all watching March Madness. My bracket is doing the best, by the way, out of my family. And that's only by luck, because I know the least about sports out of my entire family. But when I do want to watch the games, just because now I actually have an invested interest, but when I'm watching the game, I'm working on something else, and I don't want to be really distracted, so I do use my earplugs. And if somebody has, something to say to me, or they want to show me something, then usually something, hits me in the side of the arm, or they somehow get my attention, and I can just pop that out pretty easily. And they're really easy to clean also, and they're $10. And I think they come in pink and light blue and maybe purple. All right, next. Listening to calming music with headphones helps many people focus. I like this. And it's funny because on Spotify, there is a playlist that's called Intense Studying. Why? I don't know. And I really think it's for that reason. A lot of the, I don't know why I say songs, I guess, because there aren't any words, but I recognize. It's just, not adding the words. So I like the beat. I like, the different choices. There isn't anything, it's not like a nature sound, so it doesn't have like, chirping birds or anything like that, which I find a little bit annoying. It's just really nice, easy listening, calming music. And a lot of times I don't even realize that it's on, but I don't like it when it's just completely quiet. I think as a mom, I'm not really used to that. Maybe someday I will. All right, it may seem odd, but I think it's necessary sometimes to put a sign on the outside of your door to stop any unwanted visitors. And I know that seems funny, right? But sometimes, again, if you have a test and you have, that roommate next door or somebody who just obviously isn't at college for the same reason that you are, or doesn't realize that you maybe have a really, really big test coming up tomorrow, or a project that you're working on, let them know. Say, hey, do not disturb, or, come back at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m., whatever it might be. But I know as funny as that seems, I think sometimes that's just what we have to do. All right. Last but not least, number 8, do not multitask. And I know, trust me, I have tried this, and I used to think I was pretty good at it. And then when I stopped doing it, I realized quite a few things. I realized that I didn't make as many mistakes, and I wasn't clumsy. I wouldn't say that I'm a clumsy person, but you know how we've done that before. We're in a hurry, and everybody always says, oh, it always happens when I'm in a hurry. And if you think about that, it happens because you're in a hurry. It doesn't really happen when you're in a hurry, right? We go to set a cup down and we want to set it down quickly, and we turn away and we don't realize that it's sitting on something else and it spills. Or you set it down, but it's on the corner of the table, so it falls on the floor. Or you want to pour a bowl of cereal and you're trying to go quickly, and all of a sudden you have 3 times as much cereal, but you already poured your milk. Or it just makes a mess, whatever it might be. I just think that if we can focus on one thing at a time, it doesn't overload our brain. And I think that when we try to do too many things at once, I think it's stressful. And if you practice this, you realize that if you just give whatever task that you're doing all the attention, you're a lot better at it. You might even enjoy it a little bit more. And you don't make the messes. I think one of these is, and by multitasking, I don't really mean that when you're on the treadmill, you can't listen to music, or when you're, doing the dishes, you can't talk to your family. I'm not saying that, but how many times, I guess all of us, girls and guys together, you're talking on your phone, you're holding it with your shoulder because you're trying to make some supper, and then the phone falls, but it never falls even just on the floor or the countertop. It falls in the sink, right, full of water. Or we're trying to empty, some water from spaghetti noodles, and we go too fast, we burn ourselves, things like that. So if we just slow down, think about what we're doing, we actually get a lot more done in less time. All right, so those are my 8 tips for better time management. And I think that one was important to me. There's a lot of things that I'm not real great at, but I'm pretty organized and I'm pretty good at managing my time. I think I always was, but there's always things that I can learn. And I just think that we need to slow down and just enjoy what we're doing. But I think we're just so eager and just so used to always thinking about the next thing that we kind of don't think about what we're doing. So time management, I think, is probably one of the biggest keys. I think it's extremely important when you're in school, but even in your job. You show up to work, you have the same job, and you like your job, you like the people, but it can be very easy to get distracted. We go to the office, we have to pour coffee, we have to talk to everybody, see how their weekend was, and then we sit down at our desk, and then we have to, get up and, move around. But if we would just get to work, buckle down, we would get so much more done, and then maybe have more free time in the afternoon. I think most of you would agree that, not all of you, but I would rather get a lot of work done first part of the day, and then just leave a little bit more free time in the afternoon. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, take care.